Hey everybody, just wanted to come on at the beginning of this and remind you that these videos are sponsored by Guildhouse Games, the creators of Varia. If you want to get yourself the deck that you're about to see reviewed or any of the decks from Season 2, please feel free to go to guildhousegamesllc.com/shop and don't forget to use the code GEEKFORALL for 10% off. Thank you and enjoy the video. What's going on, everybody? This is Joe.
And Amy.
And we are back for more Varia deck reviews. In fact, the 7th and final Season 2 Kickstarter deck review for the Stoneroot Druid. That's right, if you have not been here, we have already reviewed the 4th Blade, the Phoenix Spellsword, the Moonlit Cleric, the Psychic Fencer, the Boreal Ranger, the Deathblood Sorcerer, and the Stoneroot Druid is what we're doing today. So, as a quick reminder, you heard that thing up at the top, and again, obviously, massive shout-outs and thank you to Guildhouse Games for this incredible opportunity, as they have done any of the other times or all of the other times that they have allowed us to do this. This is so much fun, and looking at these cards has been a blast. I encourage you to go check out the playlist of any and all of these. And if you want to see the full playlist, not just the Deathblood Sorcerer, which is what we did last week. So if you missed that, you should definitely go check that out. But the full playlist will be linked for you in the top corner over here on that little iCard. So definitely go check that out. Amy has something to say about the Deathblood Sorcerer, and I want her to be able to do that in just a moment. Okay. But first, I want to say to everybody, please do not forget, okay? It's linked at the bottom there. I'm sure, you know, we like I said, we talked about it at the beginning, but the pre-orders are ending soon. So if you've been waiting to see all the decks, this is the video. This is the one to remind yourself. If you've been holding off and holding off and holding off, do not hold off for much longer, because I don't want people to miss out on that opportunity. Yes, obviously it helps us out, and we appreciate Guildhouse Games for allowing us to do that and sponsoring us for that. Yes. But we also want to make sure you all get your hands on these sweet cards if you want them. So definitely make sure to go to guildhousegamesllc.com/shop. And of course, when you're going, like we said, don't forget the code GEEKFORALL for 10% off. But with that, let's get into more stuff. So Amy, when we were reviewing the Deathblood Sorcerer, we came across this card.
Yes.
Toldemir's Sanguimancy.
Yes, this was an interesting art. And I believe I said when we saw this art that I was planning on attempting to look into where he might be, what this setting is behind him, for the background of the art of this card.
Yeah, you were really intrigued by like the castle and the what looked like cypress trees and things like that.
Yeah. So I did some research, because it's what I do.
Yeah, Amy's the historian around here, not me. So props to you.
So I wrote down a little piece here about what I came to find. So I'll just read it off to you now. Although to me, this castle, I don't know if you can zoom in on the castle just a bit. There you go, guys. This castle resembled most closely a Germanic castle, or maybe even a Romanian castle, I felt, from the look of it. I was able to see some real similarities of this castle to a number of castles in France. I looked up the likelihood of cypress trees, because we see cypress trees depicted here.
Yeah, off on the side here.
Now, I knew that cypress trees, of course, are very synonymous with Italy. But I looked up the likelihood of there being cypress trees that grew in any of those three locations: Germany, Romania, and France. And I did not find. So, Germany and Romania seem to only have bald cypress trees that grow there. And bald cypress trees are wide and basically just look like regular trees. So they aren't this sort of thin cylinder-like tree, although they are technically cypress trees. But France, however, definitely has cypress trees that look like this. And I even read an article about them that I recommend highly. It's called Secret Language of Cypress Trees in Provence, France, by Margot Lests. And I was able to find a number of medieval castles that resemble this one in France. Most of them were in southern France, which is where Provence is located. Now, Provence is where the article specifically stated this large number of cypress trees are located. And it talks about the significance of these cypress trees and basically why they're there, and things like that. So I do recommend that article to you. But I was basically able to figure out that it's pretty damn likely, if not like actually definite, that this Deathblood sorcerer is located in France at the moment.
Yeah, at least in this image, yeah. Or that the background is inspired by southern France in some capacity.
Or if maybe he's like opening some sort of portal or like seeing into another land, then where he's seeing into is France. Okay? Because this is not an Italian castle. I can tell you that right now. There aren't castles really that look like this in Italy. And this Provence, France was really kind of the only other place I was able to find castles that looked like this and cypress trees. So he's likely in Provence, France, or at the very least in southern France.
Okay. I love that. I love that you were able to look that up. And I'm truly curious. I mean, I know that the owners of Guildhouse Games and the folks who do the lore are in their Discord channels and are some of them, many of them watch our videos as well. So if they want to chime in, they are more than welcome to do so. But, you know, Amy did her research and that is what she came up with. And props to you, Amy, for doing so.
Thank you. And I would love to find out if someone's got like even more of a pinpoint of information on that. But yeah, I'm willing to bet quite a bit that he's in Provence, France.
Okay. And then the last thing we will do before we get to the actual full deck review itself, Amy is taking over here for this particular review, or for this particular opening, I should say. So I will hand these to you. As we've been doing, we've been reviewing the promo cards that have come with the, that came with the box when we got all of these decks from the Kickstarter. And so this is the Reaping Tongue card from the Deathblood Sorcerer deck, or that would go in the Deathblood Sorcerer deck, I suppose.
It's beautiful. Yes,
really. I mean, again, like that scythe is just incredible in foil. Not even a question. His arm as well, just spectacular. This topmost arm, of course, really, really awesome looking. And then, of course, the background also looks really great. And so, but usually we only do one of these per video because it's whatever the last one was. But since this is the last video, we actually have one more to review. And that is the Stoneroot Strike card, which I'm sure we will be seeing the not as shiny version of. I was about to say not as pretty, and that's not fair. Just because it's not shiny doesn't mean it's not pretty. But not as shiny version of in the deck itself for the Stoneroot Druid. And here is the Stoneroot Strike, which looks really awesome again in foil, as all of these have.
Yeah, I think my favorite is the Deathblood Sorcerer, though. That one's pretty good.
Yeah. But that is now officially all 8 of these along all 7, or across all 7 of our videos. So definitely, like I said, feel free to go check out that playlist up in the top, and you can see those for yourselves. So, Amy, why don't you, before you open it up, why were you so interested in opening the Stoneroot Druid deck?
So I did mention in one of the previous videos that I wanted to open the cleric deck because of the fact that in a D&D game I am a cleric. Well, in a D&D game I am a druid.
in your first D&D,
Yes.
first venture into D&D, not into TTRPGs, but
No.
into D&D. Yeah.
So, yes, this one, again, not really what I would expect a druid to look like. Very, keeping it interesting, keeping it different. I love that it's a stone root druid. So there's roots, but the druid appears to be made of stone.
Yeah, and so it's cool because it's druids you would typically think of as like, you know, for lack of a better term, right, and not to mean any disrespect, but you would think of them as like tree huggers, right? They're like in love with the animals and
They're
love with
woodsy.
Yeah. But this seems like it is a druid that's like melded with the forest, right? They're covered in trees and vines and etc. They're covered in stone, and with the sword seeming to be a lot more aggressive. Druids in D&D at least tend to be a lot more magic based and tending to use their magic to manipulate the land to fight for them or defend themselves or whatever, but there's just a big old stone sword here, or what looks like a stone sword here. So I like you said, I'm very interested to get in and see how it's different, because that has, in many cases here, seemed to be the MO of at least season 2, is kind of bucking those tropes and going for a bit more of a unique situation.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, it's atypical, and I love it because it's. I went into thinking that I was going to open these decks with like, okay, let me like. Study up on my, medieval lore a little bit, like what history, like what do I need to know? And I was like, oh, okay, there's going to be druids and clerics. Okay. Like this sorcerers, like this is stuff I know. And then I see these decks and I'm like, okay, one of these is a polar bear. Okay, this person's like a cyborg? I don't know. So, yeah, I mean, it was completely like out of left field for me, which is great because it's not same old, same old, same old. Like you would think it would be when you hear ranger, when you hear druid, when you hear sorcerer, when you hear cleric, you know?
So, and before you open it, don't forget, turn it around. We can look at the back. In terms of complexity or difficulty, this deck is a 2 out of 5, which is considered beginner. And so, of course, as we've been doing, let's look at the art and then read the little descriptor while we look at the art. It says, "Get ready for the fight of your life. Forget everything you know about collectible card games. In Varia, there aren't any minions to protect you or walls to hide behind. You raise the shield. You cast the spell. You swing for the win with your weapon of choice. If you want to strike with the might of a hurricane, you'll have to become a force of nature yourself." That's a sweet one. I like that description
Yeah, it's
a lot.
pretty sick.
Wow. Really cool. Okay.
I will say, my druid character in D&D is a half-orc.
Yeah.
And
which bucks,
which
tropes
again
as well.
is atypical.
Yeah.
Yes. And my skin is gray. So
Yeah.
I actually kind of look similar to this a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't have I have tusks, but I don't have horns on my head.
Yeah.
But, and I definitely don't have these muscles. I can tell you that right now. Because even if I'm playing a character, I can never have those muscles.
Wow.
That's just not me. That's not my life.
So let's open it up. We can get into some of the lore as well of this deck and see what this character is all about, or at least start to get an inkling of what this character is all about. The last pull of these decks, let's see how we do opening this thing up.
The spot. Oh, okay.
It's there. You got it. Wait for it. Come on. It's still, for what it's worth, it still opens quite easily after that, if I haven't said that
Came
yet.
off in 2.
Exactly. It's, not a problem at all.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
For me, especially. I suck at opening things. It's great. Okay.
And then flip that over and we'll find out who we're working with here. Braum. I like the name. Okay. Braum is an elvish druid. Okay, so as Amy was saying, at least the elvish aspect of it, a little bit more expected in terms of druidic aspects. But
you don't expect to see a gray elf.
Exactly. Born in Stoneroot on a remnant of rune, he wields a greatsword hewed from a stone-like substance. Interesting. Why not just stone? Okay. And his armor combines stone plates with a root vine, a sentient forest elemental he communed with during his initiation.
Wow.
That is awesome. Braum's fierce guardianship.
So kind of like a dryad, but then also stone
or
factored
at least,
into that.
Well, and I mean, druids tend to commune with elementals all the time, but they don't imbue them into their armor, right? That's a very unique thing. That's cool. Braum's fierce guardianship drew the notice of Rune's realm lord. Oh God, let me see if I can do this. Thrymiskira? I think Thrymiskira, who made Braum her lieutenant. After his success in a great battle, Braum ascended to the starfruit canopy that protects Rune from all-devouring Dagon. Braum took up his sword against the serpent's abyssal spawn in the perpetual battle between Thrymiskira and the abyss.
Wow.
Braum has fallen countless times in battle, and Thrymiskira has raised him just as many. His root vine whispers to him, "You know life and death. This is neither." Yet Braum has no time to pause and reflect. The foes do not stop coming, and so he fights on.
Wow.
Interesting.
Legit.
I'm curious if and I guess we'll find out, but I don't have any advanced knowledge. I'm curious if the death and resurrection aspect comes into play in the game. Like in the cards.
Yeah.
If you drop below 0 that something happens for you. I'm not sure. We'll find out.
Or maybe like you use your health for things so that you drop to 0 quicker.
I guess.
We brings you back.
We touched on that a bit in Deathblood Sorcerer. So it'd be interesting if we immediately go back to that again, because we did these just in whatever order we did these.
Yeah, we did these in a very random order. Yeah. So
all right, well, let's go on to the first card and see what we're.
What a great story that was!
Very awesome. Ooh, entrenching roots. Yeah, I was gonna say it better be a block because it looks like there's 2 shields going on here, and it definitely is a magical block life. Okay. And it's a way to make tokens, so I'm sure we'll see these. Gain 2 rooted. Okay. And it says, the Stoneroot elves trace their lineage back to Thrymiskira herself. Some say that the bravest warriors will join her in a battle beyond the stars, which we learned is what Braum has done. That's awesome.
Very nice.
And that art, those colors are
that's
incredible.
Crazy.
Because again, on the front here, right, the main art, it's like browns and dark yellows, and it's kind of like, there's not a lot of brightness involved, although the kind of the hair and the a bit of like the armor down here, the vines and leaves.
Yeah.
But here you've got the red magic and the reds and the oranges and the yellows like really standing out very nicely. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and I love the composition of this one. Like, this is very much, okay, I'm kind of tramping through the forest. And this one, because of the angle, where you're kind of coming up through here a little bit with your sights, and you're seeing like the curvature of this tree and all the things in the background of this, like this pale turquoise color, all of those things, the way they're showing them kind of like convey this momentum, in a way that is tough to do with a two-dimensional, still. But you've got, like, it almost looks like these roots are melting, and then you've got the flames that look as though they're, I don't know if it's flames or if it's just like glowing, but it looks like it's on fire, like actively on fire.
Sure.
And then the stuff in the background, they almost made it look like the lens of the camera that you're seeing through is like spinning almost.
Sure.
Like it's circling in on the thing that you're seeing. So there's this almost dizziness that it's creating, this sort of spinning in the background, which gives whatever's in the foreground all this kinetic energy that it, obviously doesn't actually have, but it's a way for them to kind of create it artificially.
Yeah, I mean, even from looking at it from a bit of a distance, that face is like really intimidating.
Yeah.
It's like a little scary in a great way, of course. Like,
yeah, and I think that mostly comes from like the fact that they made the eyes glow so much, and then there's such a shadow on the bottom of the face.
Yeah, it's really haunting.
That even though the mouth is a normal size mouth, it almost looks like the mouth is just kind of taking over the face.
Sure.
Right? Very cool.
More than one of those. More than two of those. Ooh, root snap. And it looks like it's called, and it's got reach, which makes sense. That's awesome.
Yeah, again, that sort of swirling vortex of air that they've created here to really show power and just, movement. It's very cool.
Right. And speaking of which, I mean, the card itself, either you apply 2 rooted to yourself and your target, notably, or you force your target to move relative to you. So it looks like, reaching out, grabbing them and pulling them in like a vine whip almost.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Which makes sense.
Right.
It's a druid.
Exactly. Really, really cool. Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, with just these first 2 cards, if you use them, you can get 4 instances of rooted on yourself, which is really crazy. Okay. I don't yet quite know what rooted does, but I'm looking forward to finding out. Yeah, when we get to the end, we'll find out with those stacks, I assume. So, more than 2 of those. Okay. Here is the very zoomed in version of the main art, where we don't even see the bottom half anymore, the legs. And it is the Stoneroot Strike, which is, again, the promo card that we saw at the beginning there.
I love the details in this art. Just like the individual leaves in the background.
Sure.
And they each have their own specific shape. And, it's just like silhouetted there. And, the cheekbones and the outline of the lips and it's just like an attention to detail for sure.
Okay. And I'm getting a better idea of what rooted is. I believe rooted may mean that once you're rooted, you cannot be moved relative to your target from the position that you're in.
That makes sense.
Because this card in particular even says at the beginning of the moment, if you have not moved since the start of the previous moment, this action gets +3/+3 until end of turn. So you're benefited from staying stationary, from rooting in place and forcing your attacks from there, which is why it's nice that Root Snap has reach, so you can get the other person that way. And you're, like I said, you're benefited from being rooted in place. And even the flavor text says, the deeper the roots, the stronger the base from which to strike. And that quote is a Stoneroot teaching. Very cool. And then, of course, that it can't be disrupted, like really making sure that you are benefited for for what you've gotten. I mean, if this thing gets +3/+3, then you have your power die D6 +6 and your focus die D4 +6.
Wow.
That seems pretty powerful to me. Yes, please.
Yeah, druids are.
I know, Amy, I know. Okay. More than one, more than two, and thorns.
Wow.
That is gorgeous art.
This fucking art, guys.
Oh, good.
What the hell?
It's so good. Look at that. It's so dynamic. First of all, this druid, I guess Brahm, right? We just learned.
Yeah.
We learned their name. Brahm in this art could be like 20 stories tall.
Yeah.
It's so hard to tell, but it's so like the art is just he looks so imposing and awesome.
Yeah. And it's still creating that sort of cyclone of air around him.
Well, we talked about the hurricane, right? It said on the back of the box if you want to harness the power of the hurricane. So yeah.
But it actually isn't that. Like if you look at it, it doesn't look like that.
Well, it's a root though. I mean, the roots have like a cyclical imagery, right?
They're
over
like
here,
wrapped
over here, and here.
Around him.
Yeah.
But like it creates that momentum without actually like blatantly being
Movement of
a
something.
hurricane.
Sure.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
And this is great. I love that like this
so cool.
the season has changed.
Sure.
You know, we went from summer to fall.
Yeah. It's not as the canopy is not as dense, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's of course the colors changed as
Yeah,
well.
and I love that we get the beautiful blue sky against the bright orange leaves. You know, I love that complementary color thing.
And as with many things that have thorns or depict thorns in many aspects of gaming or fantasy or whatever, at the beginning of the moment, whenever you're hit by an attack this moment, deal 2 damage to your attacker if they are engaged with you. Because in other words, if they're shooting an arrow at you, obviously they won't take damage. So if it's like a reach thing, but if they're engaged with you, if they're grabbing at you or whatever, it's so flavorful. They're going to be hurt by those thorns. Punching, kicking, grabbing, pushing, whatever. And then at the end of the moment, to I guess give you more strategic abilities there, you may combine thorns with your next planned action. So you can do it in the next moment as well. If you're like, okay, well, I'm going to be hit there. I need to protect myself. Here, I'll engage my thorns so that at least they take some damage back as well.
This art too is just what a contrast between this and this. Mm-hmm. This guy is standoffish and he's shoving his sword out in front of him for protection. This dude is godlike.
He does.
Look at the way he holds his hands.
Yeah. Palms up.
He is too powerful for you.
Yeah.
Whoever you are, right? Like, that's what this is. And, like, his stance, arching his back like that, like, it's just... And then he's, like, looking down at you. Mm-hmm. It's just like, I am more powerful than you, no matter what.
It's
you know?
It's funny. It is
he's
very...
a boss.
Yeah, it is very godlike. I felt the same way, but I couldn't quite articulate it as well as you do, of course.
Yeah. You said it at the beginning. Because of the way he looks and because of the composition of you're looking up at him like that.
Yeah.
He looks huge.
Yeah.
He looks like a giant.
Yeah. He could be, these trees could be
the same height as him, a little bit
dozens of
taller.
feet high. Yeah. And he's like at the top of them.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Okay. Only one of those. Interesting.
Wow.
Here is the art from the back of the box. Force of nature, which in and of itself kind of implies power. Right? That's a big deal, a force of nature. It's a magical attack life. It can't be disrupted or replaced. Its base power and focus cannot be changed, and its dice cannot be lost.
Wow.
It's just like, this one's going to happen, deal with it.
Right, no matter what.
And sure enough...
It's a force of nature.
Right, and sure enough, the flavor text even says, what nature wants, nature gets. I am simply a vessel
Mm-hmm.
for her indomitable will.
Wow.
Amazing.
Hot. No. This one doesn't beat around the bush with the cyclone.
Yeah.
This one's like, this is what the air is doing, guys.
So cool.
I love this, where it's like just ripping up this wood or rock,
Sure.
whatever it is.
Sure.
It's tearing it up out of the ground.
It's hard exactly to tell what I'm looking at. Like, where's the character in this? Or is this just roots shooting out of the ground because it's a force of nature?
So it looks like it's roots shooting out of the ground
Yeah.
and like entangling him. So he's here.
Brahmas.
Yes.
Oh.
And this is his hair. And
Gotcha.
this is those roots
Oh, sure.
that we
sure.
saw around his legs.
Sure.
Even though this isn't where his legs are anymore.
Right.
His legs would be down here in the midst of this sort of gigantic wrap of vines
Gotcha. Okay.
or roots.
Interesting. Really cool. Yeah, I mean, looking at the back of the box, I couldn't quite tell either. So
Yeah, it's
Oh no,
tricky.
I see. He's facing you. I see. I couldn't see his face before. I was a little too far away.
Yeah.
So is this his fist? Then?
So this is his one hand.
No, right. It looks like he's punching down into the ground with his arm.
Oh, you know, maybe
Right?
it is that.
This is his arm, and this is where his fist
Yeah.
would be, and he's like kind of punching down into the
Wow.
ground like that
Okay.
with his right arm, which has been imbued with this force of nature. And in fact, since that is the arm that he holds his sword in, I'm curious if that has anything to do with it.
Yeah,
Because
there
it said
are...
it's a stone-like substance that the sword was hewed from or hewn
Yeah,
from.
and it does have quite a number of runes on it.
A lot of runes on it.
So it is a magical weapon,
Yeah.
and
I'm sure
this
we'll,
is a pretty magical thing, whatever it is.
it's a magical attack life, but otherwise, yes, I get.
No,
what
I
you're
mean, like,
I know.
you think it's his fist, maybe it's his sword, maybe
Yeah.
it's his legs, we don't know.
Amazing,
Yeah.
amazing, so cool. Yeah, being able to like have an art that really like any of them, and we've had that a couple of times in some of the other decks as well. Having an art like that really requires you to like take the time, look
Yeah.
at the card in depth, close up, like, okay, that's what's going on here. Now I know, like that's really cool. I like that a lot.
Yeah, because this might be his other arm.
His other arm or his like leg, his like knee kind of up
Yeah.
in the air kind of a thing.
Who knows?
Yeah, really, really cool.
Wow. It's kind of a cluster, but it's amazing.
It's supposed to be very powerful, so I get it. Prey Breaker. Wow. So at the beginning of the moment you engage your target, I mean, it does look like he's charging in, so that makes sense. It's a physical attack instinct. He looks a little bit more feral here than in other arts, you know?
Yes. I don't love this art.
Interesting. Tell me why. Tell me more, Amy.
I don't see any highlights.
Okay.
I don't see any shadows. I just see darker colors, lighter colors, and that's it.
So it, to a degree, reminds me of this entrenching roots card that we saw earlier. Not color-wise necessarily, but his face. Look at that face. It's so interesting to me, though, because you talked about how the Thorns card looked so drastically different to you than the main artwork.
Yeah.
And now here's a third aspect of his character, right? Where he is just feral. Like I said, he looks feral. He looks kind of out of control to a degree.
Yeah.
And that's really awesome that, like, in 5 cards, right, 5 different pieces of art or so, we've now seen what could be 3 different aspects to his personality or 3 different, like, fighting techniques that he can employ for himself, which seems really awesome for somebody who apparently is going to be endlessly fighting.
Yeah. He probably comes up with new ones on a fairly decent basis.
Or dies and is resurrected and is forced to come up with new ones.
Or maybe every time he dies, he just gets imbued with another one when he gets resurrected.
God,
Who
that would
knows?
be either really awesome or like a nightmare. Like an absolute
It sounds
nightmare.
like friggin' purgatory to me. Ugh. No. No.
It sounds like, was it The Day After Tomorrow or something. Whatever the movie with Tom Cruise was. Not The Day After Tomorrow. But the Tom Cruise movie where he just constantly dies and keeps coming back. I forget what it is. But anyway, somebody can tell me in the comments that for sure. But yeah, okay. I appreciate your feelings about not liking the art, of course. I don't mean
Yeah, I just, like, I love how the trees look in this art.
Sure. The background.
The roots, the background. But the figures are missing rendering to me. Are they just in shadow and that's why there are no highlights on them? Because if that's the case, I feel like all of these orange pieces here would be darker.
Sure.
And you would really be able to tell that it's a shadow instead of what looks to be like the forefront of the picture, not the background, but the forefront of the picture, which is the roots and the figures. Like, there's no contrast.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah. I mean,
it looks like they lowered the contrast on Photoshop and they just like did it to a point where it started to look unnatural.
Okay. I mean, it's harder for me to tell what type of a person is being attacked by Brahm here, or what type of an individual is being attacked by Brahm here, because it's just the back of them and their head is dipped so low that their arm that is raised is fully blocking their face or head or whatever. So it's kind of hard to tell quite what I'm looking at. I mean, they're wearing like some type of a tunic looking thing, and that's about it. So I mean, I'm curious like what the enemies of Themyscira look like, but yeah.
Yeah, but like it would be easier to tell that kind of thing if there were more highlights and shadows to kind of indicate where one figure ends and the next one begins and things like that.
Okay.
It would be easier to tell what you're actually looking at there.
Well, maybe we'll get a little bit more information from other cards here. I'm not sure. Let's find out.
Okay.
More than one of those. And, ooh.
Wow.
What the hell? Brambleverse. That magical attack, life, death. Okay. Yeah. Seems awesome. It's got reach. And at the beginning of the moment, you apply 2 rooted to yourself and everyone engaged with you, because you are welcoming them to this Brambleverse, I suppose, until the end of the turn. Whenever you or an ally loses stacks of rooted, they regain 1 health point for each stack of rooted lost. And whenever an enemy loses a stack of rooted, they lose 1 health point for each stack of rooted lost. Incredible. And again, I mean, you talk about him looking like a god.
Yeah.
Wow.
This one's really interesting because I get the sense that this artwork was done using a certain medium, and then these bright leaves, it was like gone over with either a very watered down acrylic or watercolor.
Okay. It's so cool. I mean, again, it really draws your attention to those leaves.
Yeah, but it almost, like, it has a similar issue to the last one, where it almost seems like the colors don't really jive. Like I don't expect the bright orange of this to be that shade of orange, because all of the other oranges are so much more muted and more red, and this is so much more yellow and white of an orange.
Sure.
That it almost seems out of place. It almost seems like you're looking at a photo that they painted those leaves on top of.
So the only thing I can say is it may be a little bit more forgivable because, like, Brambleverse leads me to believe, like, it's, like, trying to lead you to understand that it's like a separate universe. So like if those leaves are like what you would go through to get to that universe, then it might make sense that those leaves are brighter because they're a portal to another universe.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean?
Like they would be an almost unrealistic shade.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah, compared to everything else around it, because the brambles and the vines are pulling everything around it into this other universe, and that the vines are coming out of there to do that.
I will say on camera, what I'm talking about, I don't see it as much
Okay.
as I do in person.
Well, I also wanted to point out something that I'm noticing, again, looking at it a bit from a distance as I am. His, like, torso here very much is just the same color as the rest of this background.
Yeah.
That, like, he could almost be a rectangle.
Right.
Right? Just right in here. And that could be his whole form.
Yeah.
But, you know, it just, to me, what that means is I need to take more time, look at the card, like, go in depth with it. There's more than one of these, I think? There is. Yeah, I would need to, like, look a lot closer, I think, because, you know, the way that he is, like, transforming to a degree with this is, like, really interesting to me. So I would want to, like, take some time and look at this a lot to be able to try to, like, fully flesh out all the different twists and turns, literally, of the branches, but in general of the story and the flavor and the artwork and etc.
Yeah. It's very cool. But like I said, and actually the background looks like it's watercolor too.
Okay.
But it almost looks like the background is watercolor and he is drawn atop it with like a pen.
Okay.
Like a black ink pen and then colored in. And then on top of that are watercolor leaves. So these leaves look watercolor, like on top of it, and also these leaves along the bottom edge.
Okay.
Around the corner.
Like the corners here, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's very interesting.
I agree.
Because he's almost got like a comic book-ish black outline to his body and the brambles.
Yeah. Which I will always be okay with. I love me some comic books. So
it's just such a contrast to the background,
sure,
and the leaves that are painted on top of it all.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Which doesn't. It's not a bad thing. It's just. Like you said, it takes time for your eyes to like figure it out.
Yeah, to understand what you're looking at. Sure. Okay. Ooh. Well, now we know what Themyscira looks like, I guess.
Wow. That's so pretty.
Themyscira is a chord. This seems like it's like the ultimate card for this deck.
Yeah.
All players do the following at the end of the moment. Regain or lose health points until they have 15. Regain or lose action points until they have 5. And draw or forget cards until they have 3. Wow. Just for people that may not have played collectible card games before, just know all of those effects are very good. Because you're in control of when this card gets played, because you're the one that has it. So you're not going to make yourself forget cards down to 3. You're going to play it when you have little to no cards left in your hand so you can draw up to 3. And when, hopefully, then it will be at a point when your opponent or opponents will have more than 3 cards so that they have to make the tough choice to drop cards down to 3. You will use this when it is beneficial to you for your health points, for your action points, etc. Really, really, really cool. And it is magical, cosmic undeath. So I guess this is a depiction of him being resurrected by her.
I guess.
It says, the flavor text, by the way, a mother's love will keep you alive. A mother's fear will keep you from living.
Wow.
What a great line.
How true is that?
Amazing. I love that. That's so cool. And she looks godlike. She
Yeah.
looks,
Sure.
really cool. I mean, you've got like basically the whole universe or solar system, I should say, depicted like coming across this way in front of her.
I love that there's a lack of realism. Not
Yes.
just to the piece.
Yeah.
But also to just the look of her face.
Sure.
And with
Yeah.
the like stars in her hair,
Yeah.
She's more cartoony. And that's what I would want to see from a goddess who's in space and resurrecting somebody in the art.
Yeah.
I don't want that person to look like a human. I want them to look,
larger than life.
have an aspect of like grandeur or like even just like look at the dewiness of her face.
Yeah.
Like the
It could be a porcelain mask.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really, really cool. Okay. I like that one a lot.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, and so now we're into the more generic ones. We've talked about these in past videos. We will, if we feel like we have something else to say, we'll talk about them. But otherwise, we obviously encourage you to check out the playlist so that you can get our full and strong opinions when we originally saw these arts.
Yeah.
But here is the Acid Tsunami. We've seen this a couple of times now.
Well,
The Mnemoniturgy, which again, I mean, that action point cost. Jesus.
I know. I know.
Ballista's Bane, which I always love looking at this person cutting that ballista mortar in half. An Air Blast, which we have seen the other half of from the Boreal Ranger, if I remember correctly.
I think so.
I think so too. Good talk. From me, by the way. That's not anything about you.
Check our
Thank you
previous
for the help.
videos.
Yeah. Ooh. Amber Barrier. I believe we've seen this like once before. Or maybe I'm
Really?
wrong.
I don't think we
recall.
have seen this.
It's him. It's Brahm.
Yeah.
Really cool. Wow. Brahm didn't know who she was or where she came from, but her intent to kill was unmistakable. Though he hated to admit it, the time for talking had already passed. Wow. And it's a magical block Earth, implying that the use of the Amber Shield here
It's so cool.
is from his connection to the Earth. Really cool. I love
Wow.
it. Look at him. Way to go, Brahm. Okay. Another one of those.
Yeah.
A Coiled Serpent Strike. Of course, it was just another one. I hate when that happens. Coiled Serpent Strike. A Lightning Overload. We have not seen many of these either.
No, because these were in the cleric deck.
Yeah. Metal Armor. This is almost too easy. Stormcaller Jivo? Something like that. That guy on the right there, not having a great day.
No.
No. We have Ing's Piercing Fang.
We've seen this one a bunch of times.
Yes. Enza's Absolution. We've seen this more recently, but I love the colors, man. They're so
Yeah,
cool.
it's really great.
Really great.
The saturation on this is just so much.
Yes. Legionnaire's Taunt. We've seen this a couple times too. Very imposing.
Oh boy. Okay.
And then here we are with the item cards.
Yes.
So this being a weapon item sword, of course. A physical attack tactics. Slate Tooth. Carved from a broken tooth of Dagon the Devourer, this greatsword's stone-like material seems to increase in density when still.
What?
Very interesting. Well, again, rooted. The whole aspect of rooted. Again, we haven't seen it yet, but I'm assuming
That's crazy.
that Brahm gets more powerful when he is able to stand still and fight. And so Slate Tooth gets more dense, he gets more rooted, and he gets benefits for that. Wow. And in fact, at the beginning of the moment, it says, if you have not moved, here we go, since the start of the previous moment, this action gets +1/+1 until end of turn. And so then it would be your power die +4, d6 +4, and your focus die d4 +4, instead of +3 for each.
Wow.
Really flavorful, really awesome. And again, how synergistic and awesome. Mm-hmm. You know, there is the movement mechanic in Varia of engaging or disengaging with your target, but this deck means I want to stay right where I am, and you're not telling me to move because I'm going to be rooted to the spot, and I'm going to make you rooted to your spot as well on occasion. Very cool. I'm curious what the other item might be, if anything. The Stoneroot armor, of course, silly me. How could I have not realized? A magical earth life armor item plate.
So these are the plates.
Held together by the roots.
Yeah.
That's really cool. And it says magical armor 1d4. Prevent 1d4 damage from any unopposed magical action that damages you during the clash. Armors of the same type cannot overlap.
Wow.
Okay, and then at the end of the moment, if you use this Stoneroot armor, lose 4 rooted and gain 2 chi.
Ooh.
Interesting.
That's not something we've seen much.
No, I mean, you know, with the some of the other decks that I'm not recalling off the top of my head, but yeah, very, very cool.
Wow.
And that's a great way to lose rooted. I mean, we saw that one card. Every time you lose rooted this turn, certain things happen for you. So very nice. There is the entrenching roots token that we saw and talked about earlier. Another one. Makes sense. And a third, of course. Here are the stacks, the regular ones that we've seen many times, of Fatigue and Molten. And here is Chi and Rooted. So for Chi, you may lose 2 Chi in place of paying an action point when paying to perform actions. And Rooted, as was assumed, you cannot move or be moved, and at the end of the moment, lose 1 Rooted. And so that's, again, another way to get rid of Rooted. It's just in general, at the end of a moment, you will lose 1. And if you have multiple, you go down 1 by 1 by 1, and for the card that benefits you for losing Rooted, that's really great. And putting 2 Rooted on your opponent, right? Because there were multiple cards that said, like, you get 2 Rooted, your opponent gets 2 Rooted, something like that. You can stick them in place and then either make sure that they stay engaged with you or stay disengaged with you if you're fighting a more melee-based class. Really interesting and can implement a lot of really cool strategies, I think, to help you out. Really nice. More of those. And, of course, the Cutout and Assemble Die card. That is the last card of any of these decks. And on the other side, the Turn Structure to keep on the side to remind yourself if you need that for playing the game. I mean...
Okay. This is absolutely my favorite now.
You think so?
Oh, yeah.
Interesting. Oh, I love that. I'm super happy to hear that. That's so cool. Okay. I still am partial to... Like, the Deathblood Sorcerer and the Phoenix Spellsword really spoke to me.
Yeah, they're pretty cool.
Yeah, I like them a lot. That doesn't mean I don't...
They were both my favorites before this one.
And that doesn't mean I don't like this one, but yeah, very, very interesting. Okay. Hey, if you have not been leaving comments on these videos, I would love to hear from you. If you've watched any or all of these, give us your opinions on things that we've said, on things that we haven't said, and stuff that maybe you've noticed. What's your favorite deck that you saw out of all of these?
Yeah.
And again, of course, like I said, it benefits us for you to do so. And so, maybe that's the reason why, but it's not. I want to know if you're going to pick up these decks, and if you are, which ones and why. Are there some that speak to you more than others? Why or why not? And if you're going to pick them up, let us know. Of course, we would love to congratulate you and welcome you. Not that, we are the ones to do so, but allow you to be welcomed into the Varia family. And we encourage you to even if you're not
Facilitate it.
Yeah, exactly. Even if you're not going to be pre-ordering the decks, it does not hurt to go to guildhousegamesllc.com and just check out their website. Check out the things that they've got on there.
Yeah.
Join the community in general. Become a part of it. If this game seems interesting to you in any capacity, but let's say maybe you don't have the funds right now, not a problem whatsoever. Just stay tuned to us and to other creators that make Varia content, and stay tuned to Varia in general, Guildhouse Games in general. If you are interested in us and more things that we do outside of just these Varia videos, don't forget to subscribe and ring that bell so that you will get notifications whenever any of our videos come out, including whenever we may do more Varia content in the future, if that is in the cards for us, no pun intended, or lots of pun intended. We stream on this channel, if you're interested, every Monday and Friday, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on this channel. So if you like collectible card games in general, every Monday we stream MTG Arena here on this channel, like I said, from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time. So if that's something you're interested in, come join us. Come join us on any stream that you would like. This Friday, though, I guess I should specify, this Friday we will not be streaming live from 8 to 10 p.m. because we will be at the pre-release for the new Magic set, Kamigawa Neon Dynasty. And so you can definitely check that video out when it comes out. We're going to have 2 videos out Friday night. But because of that, we will not be available on stream, and we will be back next Friday, the 18th, where we will be playing X-Men Legends 2 for the PlayStation 2, because this past Friday we just finished X-Men Legends 1.
Yeah, so check out those VODs if you missed them.
Over on Video Games for All, link down in the description box below, and you should be seeing very soon, so get over there and subscribe as well, a new video over on Gluten Free for All.
Yes.
Link down in the description box as well. So thank you all so very much for being here. We really, really appreciate any and all of these videos that you've watched and any and all time that you've spent with us, of course.
Don't forget that 10% off.
GuildhouseGamesLLC.com/shop and use the code GEEK4, the number 4, all.
Yeah.
No spaces. And you'll get that 10% off for any or all of these decks that you pre-order for yourself. And yeah, we hope that you enjoy that. Like I said, let us know any opinions, thoughts, etc. that you have. That's what the comment section is for. We would love, love, love to hear from you. And enjoy your Varia decks if you pick up any of them. These look sweet. The originals looked sweet. The starter set looked sweet. Just any of these products that you can pick up, we encourage you to do so because they seem so cool. And like I said, stay tuned to this channel. We are looking forward in the future, hopefully, to doing much more content with Varia. And so, for now, from us here at the Geek for All family of channels, I have been Joe.
And I'm Amy.
And as we always say, in whichever video of ours you watch next, we will see you all next time. Thanks, everybody.